Hello everybody, I'm Nora and I'm very excited for today because we get to do another National Day Craft Challenge. So every single day of the year has multiple national holidays associated with it, usually about three to five national holidays. And so for these National Day Craft Challenges, we look at what the holidays are for that particular day. So today is March 8th. We'll pick one of those holidays and then make a craft around it. So I haven't seen these yet, and we'll see them together now for the first time. I'm gonna read them off. Number one, it looks like there's four. Number one, International Women's Day. Very, very nice. Number two, you can't go wrong with International Women's Day, right? Number two, National Oregon Day. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that. Is it Oregon? Oregon. It's the state, Oregon. All right, number three, National Peanut Cluster Day. National Peanut Cluster Day. Does making a peanut cluster nut mix count as a craft? I don't know, but that could be yummy. We could do that. Number four, the last one, National Proofreading Day. So we have International Women's Day, National Oregon Day. I kind of want to do that because I know so little about Oregon. I'll have to look how to pronounce the actual name of that state. But there's like the Oregon Trail, right? Oregon Trail. And that could be fun. I kind of feel like I have to do that, but let's think about it. So I'm gonna think about this and I'll get back to you. I'm back, it's a couple days later, and I'm gonna go with Oregon. Over the past couple of days, I've been doing some research on Oregon because when I decided that Oregon was the topic I wanted to go with, which I had decided that pretty early on, I was like, that's what I wanna do. But what does that mean? I had no idea what craft I was gonna make. So I thought I would look into Oregon a little bit and see if I was inspired, which I was, and I was inspired by the beaver. The beaver in Oregon, it's its state animal, it's on its flag, and then there's a bunch of history around the beaver going all the way back to the settlers and trapping the beaver and the fur of the beaver and the numbers dwindling, and the beaver's super important to the people of Oregon, and it's now illegal to trap and kill them in Oregon. So I'm gonna go with the beaver, and I thought we would make a stuffed animal beaver. I've never made a stuffed animal that didn't include a pattern. I'm gonna go get some fabric, and I don't really know what I'm gonna do from there. We're gonna figure it out together. All right, let's go. I am gonna just use a regular pen to trace my pattern. I don't find the need for fabric pens, especially for this kind of project, because any marks that you make are gonna get caught in the seam allowance, so you won't see it. I'm gonna place the beaver as close to an edge or a corner as I can for the purpose of saving as much of my fabric as possible. I have pretty much two of everything. Two bodies, two legs, arms, and tail. So what I'm gonna do first is I'm gonna pick one of these to be the front, let's just say this one, and I'm gonna start building on the face. The first part of the face I wanna do is to make kind of a muzzle. So when you're making the facial features, you wanna remember that you have your seam allowance, so this is gonna be bigger than your actual animal. So to make the muzzle, I made two circles next to each other and then connected them with a line, and then I'll cut this out. Now, because there's no seam allowance on this, I'm making sure to make my markings on the back. This will be the front. Here's my muzzle that I cut out, and then I cut out two little white teeth as well. I'm gonna use the Wonder Under. I used this last time in the National Craft Day Challenge for the shower with a friend day, which was pretty funny. That was the first time I'd used it. I liked it, so I'm gonna try it again. What I'm gonna do is attach all three of these pieces on here at once. I've attached the muzzle to the Wonder Under, so all of these pieces, now the teeth and the muzzle, are connected, and I can move them around and place them as I like. So what I will do next is peel off this back. So it is not sticky right now once you peel it off, but when you heat it to your item, it will be sticky. So I'm gonna stick that where I want it, and I'm gonna go iron this on now. I'm gonna top stitch around the muzzle, and then I'll come back and I'll add a little nose. I think that's really cute. My fabric got a little bit wet from my iron down here, but that'll dry. I top stitched the muzzle on, and I went around twice. You probably don't need to do that. It's just the first time I went around, I was a little bit farther into the middle than I wanted to be. I wanted to be closer to the edge to prevent the as much fraying as I could. I'm not going to top stitch the teeth because they're kind of held in here by the top stitching of the muzzle since they go into that part. Next, I'm going to put this cute little button nose on. I will put a dab of fabric glue to hold it in place, and then I'll just stitch around the circle. Though I'm wondering if that's the best course of action. I'm wondering if the stitching is going to make it less three-dimensional, but I don't think that just the glue will hold it. I think it needs some stitching on there. So I could hand sew right along the edge. That might be an option. Let me think about it. I put the glue on, and I did end up stitching just around the edge. I think this looks pretty good. I think it's really cute already. I just put the two sides of the beaver's tail together and blanket stitched all the way around the edge. Now I have this needle, which is a pretty thick needle, and I'm going to use this embroidery floss to embroider X's all the way down the tail. I have my embroidery floss and my needle. I put it just once through the needle and tied a knot in one end right there. And I'm going to start at the back of my tail and push the needle through the front. Now this is a pretty thick needle because the needles have to be kind of big to get the embroidery floss through the hole. So let's see how this goes. All right. And so now I'm just going to do X's all the way down. That's looking pretty good. My only complaint is these are a little floppy, so it might be worth pinning these down with a stitch of just regular sewing thread, hand stitching that down. But I don't know. I'm wondering if that might make it not look as good. So I'm going to leave it like that for now, and then I might come back and add a couple stitches in the middle of each X. I'm about to sew these right sides together. So what I will do is put these face to face, sew all the way around the edge. I'll leave a hole at the bottom so that I can stuff it. If you are going to hand embroider the eyes, which is what I would recommend, you do this now. Do it before you stitch your pieces together. However, I am going to use these button eyes. This one might be too big, but you basically attach these after you've stuffed it. I just got these on Amazon. You do not want to use these under any circumstance if a baby or a child under 3 is going to be playing with this. And to hand embroider the eyes, I would just do a little stitch from the bottom to the top, and then I would, from the back, go into the middle of your stitch and do another stitch to the top. I did stitch with this thin thread a little X. I stitched down and then over, and I like that, so I'm going to do that again. So I have my needle and thread, it's doubled up. I have a knot in the end, and I'm going to go horizontal first. And do you see how when my needle comes up, it kind of goes through the middle of the embroidery floss? I like that because it kind of, since it's coming up right through the middle, I think it holds it in place. And then I'm going to go across. And then up through the top of the X and the bottom. Then I'll tie that off on the back and keep going. The other thing I would say is if I were to do this again, I would not attach my two pieces first. I would do this embroidery on the top of the tail, And then when I was done with the embroidery, I would put the back of the tail on and do the blanket stitch around. And that way the back would just be nice and clean. It wouldn't have all this messiness. I did stitch around the edge of the beaver. I stitched twice just to make sure that it was gonna really hold in all of the stuffing and not start to come apart. So let's flip this right side out and then we'll stuff it. I'm gonna use this chopstick to push out all the edges. All right, in all honesty, if I were to do this again, I probably would make the top of the head a little more curved. It came out kind of flat, but it might be okay. Let's lightly stuff him, and then if we want to add more stuffing, we can. So I have here my stuffing pillow from my failed heart pillow video, but now I just use it to keep all my stuffing. So I can pull my stuffing out from here and put it into the beaver. I finished securing each one of these X's, and I did go ahead and put another piece of flannel along the back and do another black blanket stitch. So I didn't cut off the old one, I just attached this and did another blanket stitch over it. So there's double stitching along the whole edge, which I think is fine. This is just a little bit thicker, which is actually kind of nice. Now with him, I think he's looking pretty good. You can see I have a little dot here because I tried to stick the eye in. But I am gonna take the stuffing out, flip it inside out, and kind of round out this edge a little bit. I think it'll just look a little nicer. It's looking a little like wonky right now, I think, with that edge. Or maybe I'm obsessing. Maybe it's fine. I just wish it wasn't so pointy. This one is kind of perfect. So I do think I'm gonna do that. I trimmed a little bit here and re-sewed, which I think is looking better. I'm happier with that. I did close him up at the bottom using an invisible stitch. Now my hand stitching could use some work, so that's a little messy, but I'm okay with it. It's at the bottom, I'm not gonna redo it. The other thing is for the tail, I should have, before I sandwiched these together and blanket stitched, I should have also done some X's on the back, because what occurred to me is I could kind of attach it like this so that you could see it from the front. But then there's no X's on the back, which seems unfortunate to me. So I think what I'm gonna do, because at this point I don't wanna add another layer, I think I'm going to attach it like this. So, no, how am I gonna attach it? I'm gonna attach it like this so that when he's kind of sitting, the tail will be like that. And then I just need to do the arms. When I had initially cut out the arms, here's the arms and the feet, I had only cut out 2 of each, but I actually need 4 of each because I'm gonna sandwich these together and then stuff it a bit. But that means I need 4, not 2, and same with the feet. I used some embroidery thread to make little paws here, and I'm gonna do the same on the other one. You go in through the back. And remember, there's going to be a seam allowance, so you want to stay a good amount away from the edge. And then just keep going up and down. And tie a knot in the back. And now I'm gonna sew right sides together. So here's the back of the paw. And I have ironed this side up because when I turn it right side out, it will make it easier to attach to the body of the beaver. That will make more sense later. So this is the wrong side, and the right sides are facing each other. I'm gonna stitch all along the edge, but I'm gonna leave this part open. That way I can put a little stuffing in there. So just all the way around the edge and leave that open. I'll do that on both paws. Here they are, wrong sides out. I'm about to flip them. You'll notice again, I did a double stitch around the edge. I don't know how necessary that is, but I feel like it can't hurt, right? So let's flip this, let's flip these. Okay, I just flipped this one, and it's a little funny. These are like the tiniest little arms I've ever seen. And then it did recently occur to me as I was making this how enormous the tail is. The tail is like as big as the body, so that's kind of funny. I wish that the arms were a little bit longer, and I'm almost tempted to redo them, but I'm not going to. I'm just gonna leave them. But they are like these little itty bitty arms. I haven't flipped the other one yet. Here's the other one. I have both turned right side out. I'm gonna do light stuffing, and then I think what I'm gonna do, which I don't know how well this is gonna work, but I think what I'm gonna do is, so these pieces are folded in, and I'm going to, once I stuff this, kind of skewer it on. So since those are folded in, it's not the raw edge, right? And then I'll hand stitch right around the base, like that. I wish I had thread. I don't have thread that's the perfect color. It's lighter, and it really shows quite a bit, so that's unfortunate, but what are you gonna do, right? I kind of gauge where the middle of this is, and then I'm going to put the needle in there. So you can see the knot here, but then I'm gonna cover the knot with the bear's arm, and then I'll start stitching all the way around. And the way that I do it, there's many stitches that you could do, but I'm just going in and out. So I'm taking a little bit of the body fabric and then putting it into the fabric of the arm. And then again. And you can just do that all the way around. So now I've sewn all the way around, and I'm back to the front, and I'm going to show you how to hide your knot when you're finished. So you're going to take one more stitch, but don't pull your needle all the way through yet. Don't pull your needle all the way through yet. You're going to go around, you're going to loop this around the front of the needle once, around the front of the needle twice, and then you're going to pull your needle all the way through, and it makes the knot. Then you're going to stick the needle back into the beaver and kind of have it come out the back, and then you can trim. And you can't see where it is in the back, so it's hidden. So I'm going to trim some of these little pieces to clean it up a little bit. Let's put his eyes in now, because that's where these little animals, I feel, really come to life. Not that I've made one before, but I think that the eyes will really help to give them some personality. So again, I am going to use these, and these come in different sizes, so I have to find a good size. I'm thinking maybe this size. That might be a little bit big, but maybe not. Maybe that's good. This would be the smaller size. Let's see if we can see one on each side. I'm going to go with the smaller one. So the way that you do this, so I have my two little eyes out. I'm going to shut my container. I'm going to take a pencil, and I'm going to put a little pencil dot where I want the eyes, and I kind of want them close to the nose, I think. Like, that's kind of cute, right? So this is not fabric glue, this is craft glue. This is pretty heavy duty craft glue, but it's not the kind of glue where if it gets stick to your fingers stick to each other all day long. But this is the kind of glue they use on like dollhouses and that kind of thing. So this is very good. And what I'm gonna do is take the cap off. And I have my notepad down here because I don't want to get any glue on my table. I'm going to put a tiny dab of glue, how do I want to do this, on the eye, I think. And then I'm gonna put this, oh, you know what? Shoot, I wanted to cut, I need some scissors. Hold on. I wanted to cut this pin a little smaller because I don't want it to have any chance of coming out the back. So let's cut this a little smaller. Hopefully it works. There it goes. Put another little dab of glue just in case that dried while I was getting the scissors, because this dries very quickly. There we go. I'm going to put a dab of glue on the tip of the pin. And then you push the pin through the fabric. And then, ooh, that even, you know what? I'm going to take it out and cut it more because I can feel it poking through the back. That's not good. Maybe I should just cut off this pokey thing altogether. That might be a smart way to go. Okay, I left a tiny bit of a pokiness. And I'm actually going to, this time, put the glue around the base of the eye. Why do I feel like this isn't going to go well? Because now it's getting messy, that's why. We don't want this to get messy around the eyes because that will take the personality out. Okay, but now, because it's so short, I can't poke it through the fabric. So, that's okay. It's still on there. But again, you do not want to use these for children under 3. Absolutely not. Because this will come off very easily. I'm almost wondering if I should just do a stitching with the embroidery floss for the eyes, but I kind of feel committed to this now. When you have a bigger stuffed animal, these little eyes with the pokey things are fantastic to use because they stick in there really well. Try and push it through. That's cute, right? Okay, I'm gonna put the cap back on my glue. Oh my gosh, how adorable. So I think I'm gonna make the feet. I was debating about the feet, but I think the feet will maybe even allow him to stand up because if I have the tail in the back and the feet in the front, maybe he can stand. So let's do that quickly. Let's finish this project. I attached his legs using an invisible stitch instead of the regular stitch around the top, and it definitely hides that thread more, which is great. It puckers it up a bit. I think if I had these pieces stuffed a little bit fuller, that would avoid that problem. And I do wish I had stuffed kind of all of this a little bit more, but I think that's okay for now. So the last thing we have to do is put his tail on, and I did have an idea I'm really excited about for another video regarding this guy that I'll tell you about in a minute. But let's first attach his tail, and then we'll talk about ways to make him a little better, because I think he has a lot of potential, but he just needs a little bit something else. And here's Beaver, all done. He can even sit up. See? I can't believe he can sit up. That's amazing. He has a lot of personality. I love his face. Let's talk about what else we can do with him. He does have a few issues, especially the stitching around his arms. And I'm getting to how I think we can fix some of these issues easily. And his stuffing, I wish his stuffing was a little bit fuller and his head is a little small and you know, things like that. But I really do love him. I think he's super cute. But I was thinking what might help is if he had like a little hat and maybe a vest. The vest would hide some of the stitching around his arms, and maybe a little pair of shorts, which the shorts would have to be designed in a way to acknowledge his tail, right? Because his tail would need to stick out of the shorts. But I think that could be really fun. So what I'm thinking is I'm gonna end this video. This video is done. I would say success-ish, right? I'm not overly obsessed with this guy, but I think for a first effort, fantastic. And you know, I think he's adorable. And his eyes actually have stuck on there really, really well. I've been, you know, throughout the process since I put the eyes on, kind of tugging at them to make sure, and they're
they're on there and secure, so I'm happy about that. So I'm gonna end this video, but what I'm thinking is for a separate video, I'll make him some little accessories to wear, and that will not be part of the National Day Craft Challenge. That will just be a separate project. So look for that. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss our little attire that we're gonna make for him. But this has been a blast as always, and I can't wait to see you next time. Bye!